If push came to shove and it's a decision between doing journalism and doing business, we're going to do journalism.
You can't go to the city council meeting in which they're planning to rip up your side of the town to build a factory. It's important that we cover that.
Newspapers have a very vital role that people don't quite understand anymore.
There's nothing that I would do that the newspaper would use if I gather that information unethically.
We're at a spot where we have to decide whether or not we're a margin business or a share business.
Hi, I'm Mark Timney, your host of Inside the Mass Media. For most Americans, getting the news is as simple as going to the mailbox. But what if you work at a newspaper? What's it like to get the news and turn it into a newspaper? Today, we're going to find out as we tour a daily paper in northern New Jersey. The Record is a family-owned newspaper, part of the North Jersey Media Group in Hackensack, New Jersey. The paper serves the residents of Bergen and Passaic counties, as well as parts of Hudson and Mars counties, the Jersey Shore, and some of the New York City area.
We exist because of the communities around us, and I think our primary mission is to make sure that their voices are heard and the things that can impact their lives, both from a positive standpoint and a negative standpoint, are made clear.
The company has 5 interdependent divisions: daily, weekly, specialty publishing, printing, and internet. The Record is part of the daily division and is overseen by an editor.
I am the head of, in this particular case, about 260 people, full and part-time, which I oversee all the departments: sports, news side, graphics, photo, every part of a newspaper. Ultimately, the buck stops with me.
Under the editor is a managing editor who oversees the assistant managing editors, or AMEs. Reporters, graphic designers, and photographers answer to the AMEs, and each AME is responsible for a specific section or aspect of the paper, like graphic design, or sports, or the features sections.
I have 3 assistant editors. Each of those folks meet with their individual writers pretty much on a daily basis to be apprised of the progress of stories, what else is developing. Some stories they might, turn around in a day, but then, through the editing process and everything, it won't appear until a week later in our section. I tend to read everything that goes in the section, even if I'm doing it as a second read, because I do have some reporters that would report to me. Then they go to the copy desk, where a copy editor will check the story for style, grammatical errors, those kinds of things. They're the folks who write the captions and the headlines for the stories, and then it goes to a slot person who checks their work, and then it's put on the page.
All the section pages of the paper are designed by my department, illustrations come out of my department, and all the graphics come out of my department. It's okay to have nice headlines and a good photo, but we want to be able to package that. Have big impact with the photo, have a strong headline, give them some bits of information in the package that will make them want to stop and read it. On the other sections, as they're flipping through the paper, we want those to be designed so well that it's going to stop the reader in his tracks. He's going to want to pick that section out and read it and look at it and say, wow, this is exciting.
I work the morning shift. I'm the earliest photographer on. So I'll get up in the morning, cruise all the news stations, my scanners, my pager news services, and find out if there's anything big that happened last night. And if I need to quickly go and do catch up and find out what happened and maybe follow through with the morning stuff. Our day starts off with a basic structure, which is maybe 1 to 3 assignments a day, spread out throughout the day. Some could be business portraits, some could be just a scheduled news event, a press conference, a sporting event. But around that, intertwined around that, is whatever happens throughout the day.
With being a general assignment reporter, you have to be very good at many little things. You don't get the relationships that you get when you are a municipal reporter who is covering anywhere from maybe a big city such as Patterson to maybe 5 or 6 smaller towns. When you're a general assignment reporter, you can't possibly return everybody's phone calls and maybe go out to dinner with a source. You can't make phone calls for one story and sit there waiting for people to call you back. What you've got to be doing is writing with one half of your brain on one story and making calls with the other half of your brain on another story, and with one hand you're writing down appointments on your calendar, and with the other hand you're surfing the internet.
We do a lot of local news, but we take on the big issues. For instance, there's a story now about the Camden County kids who were planning a Columbine-like killing spree. That Camden County is way out of our territory, but it's a statewide story. It's a national issue with guns and kids and violence. And we're not going to ignore a story like that and let the wires do it. We're a serious newspaper, but we're capable of having a lot of whimsy in our pages. We follow trends. We bust statewide news. We go after corrupt government officials very heavily. We'll go anywhere for a good story because any good story will interest our readers.
The paper also has a publishing side, which includes production, circulation, advertising sales, and marketing. Production is responsible for printing the paper and getting it out the door.
So once they send a page to me, it's much like printing a Word document on a computer. They hit the button and it comes out, instead of a printer, it comes out of an image setter, which is a machine that has long rolls of film in it, and that the pages get imaged, and we put them on a printing plate, and it's a photographic polymer material on this aluminum printing plate, and it gets exposed with a bright ultraviolet light, and we develop the plate after it's been exposed, and we hang it on the press and roll the press and send the papers out the door. We'll run about 60 rolls of newsprint a night. Each one of those rolls is going to be somewhere around 2,400 pounds. We print on a lot of trees here.
Circulation's job is to get the papers to readers.
I'm responsible for acquiring new subscribers, for retail sales, opening up new outlets. It's a constant challenge to anticipate the demand, based on the news, so that we don't have sellout situations. But even with that, on any given day, maybe 25% of the stores will not have papers at the end of the day. And we run about 20% returns, so it's not as if we don't have a lot of paper out there.
Meanwhile, the advertising and marketing departments are working to attract new advertisers and readers to the paper.
We primarily focus on 3 areas of advertising revenue: retail advertising revenue, classified, and national. And within that, there's a couple of additional breaks, but that's primarily what we do. Like most newspapers, advertising is responsible for anywhere from 70% on the low end to 80+% of all revenues that newspapers generate. So frankly, if we don't sell ads, the paper doesn't get out.
There are a lot of differences regarding how people see their communities and what they're expecting in terms of their local newspaper, and that really becomes the job of the marketing department to be able to sort of turn that antenna out to focus on what customers are looking for and to translate that information. Sort of take the information out of the background noise, okay, and synthesize it for people, whether they be editors, okay, or whether they be circulators, or whether they be people on the advertising sales side, so that they better understand what our customers want and tell our advertising customers what that means.
Working in a newspaper can be very stressful, but for the staff at the Record, the work has its own special rewards.
A couple of people I've met along the way described it as a front row ticket to life. You have access to places that so many people don't have access to. You meet important people, you watch history unfold, you can make of it what you want. I've never seen an editor who said to a reporter, "No, I don't really want that interesting story. Why don't you go over there and be boring?" So there's a lot of latitude, and in many ways it's, a lot of us joked in the first 10 years, it's not really like working.